August 29th, 2005 may have been a regular day for some. I know for me, it was my first day as a high school freshman. And I was super nervous, but at the same time, excited, waiting to see what the next school year would bring. However, for the residents of New Orleans and neighboring towns, August 29th, 2005 was a day like no other because around 6 o'clock in the morning, Hurricane Katrina hits the southeastern town of Burris at wind speeds of 125 miles per hour. Hurricane Katrina is noted as being one of the largest and third strongest hurricane ever recorded to make landfall in the United States. Residents were now mandated to evacuate, and when FEMA, Congress, the Bush administration, and the Army Corps of Engineers didn't know how to tackle the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, a New Orleans citizen, 20-year-old Jabbar Gibson, took matters into his own hands. Having no experience in driving a school bus, Gibson found a bus and began loading as many people as he could onto that school bus.
And out of all the people that got on the bus that day was a Makivia Horton, a 5-month pregnant New Orleans resident. And next you will hear from Makivia herself as she shares her story on what happened that day and her experience surviving what's often considered one of the worst storms in U.S. history, and how you too can triumph in the face of trials. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me again on the episode of Sis It's Just Not God's Best for You Self Actualize and Shine podcast show. And we have a special guest on our Trials to Triumphant series. I have Makivia Horton with us, and she is one of the people that was affected by Hurricane Katrina. Like, look, we have like a walk-in testimony with us. She was one of the people that was able to escape after the hurricane because like through someone that took a bus and took them out to safety. They were like, she was one of the few people, the first to get to Texas at the Amsterdam, I think I'm saying it right. Amsterdam. She was one of the first to arrive to safety after everything happened in Hurricane Katrina. So here we are talking to her today. So thank you again, Makivia, for joining me on this episode. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Oh, that's good. And I just felt like it was actually like really, really timely that I'm talking to you today because I feel like the 16th year of Hurricane Katrina just passed last month. So it's just like, dang, yes, I'm so glad I was able to connect with you. So if you can take us back to 16 years ago, what was that day like for you, if you can remember, before the storm actually hit? From my understanding, like a lot of people, now correct me if I'm wrong, from my understanding, a lot of people don't take like hurricanes that serious in New Orleans because, you guys, it happens a lot. So most people just prepare to stay indoors and just board up their windows, and that's just that. So was that the case for you? Were you preparing to actually leave, or you just like, we're gonna ride this one out?
Okay, so no, before that hurricane, before Katrina, actually, we had another a hurricane, and every time they tell us to leave, we don't have no hurricane, no damage. It nothing actually happens. But the day before, that was August 28th. My sister stayed in Gretna at the time. She was like, "Well, if you want, you're not gonna leave." Because my I had a younger daughter and a younger at the time. My mom had my younger daughter, and my son aunt had him. And my sister was like, well, if you're not gonna leave, you can stay in my house. Um, and I stayed uptown in the St. Thomas, in New Orleans. Around there, we are close to the Garden District. Nothing happens to the Garden District. It's not gonna flood. Nothing ever happened. The Garden District, if you don't know, is a upscale, a white neighborhood. So I went to my sister's apartment the day before. We heard the winds and the rains and everything. Everybody was in the hallway just praying and scared. It was me, my cousin, and my cousin fiance at the time. After that, it was after the storm. It was bright as day. We took my cousin car. We went back to my home, which is uptown. And I had a house phone at the time, and I had a radio at the time, and we still had power. Like I said, we next to the Garden District. Garden District is where the white people stayed. So we still had power. We still had everything was still going great. Then I think that night, um, our lights just was they turned our lights off. It wasn't because of no storm or anything. It just was off. So my mom, she evacuated. She called me on the house phone because our cell phones wasn't working either. And she was like, what y'all gonna do? It's flooding out there. I'm like, no, it's not. We don't have water or nothing out here, because I can't see anything. The TVs and everything go. We only can hear from the radio and from when people calling and telling us. She was like, well, y'all have to get out the city because it's flooding. And it was like the water coming your way. The water was started downtown in the ninth wall. And they were saying that it was coming this way. And at the time, it was just me and my cousin, like I said. So my baby father at the time, he's now deceased. He bought him and his whole family was in the St. Bernard. That's the seven wall. It was flooded. They had to their grandmother, Miss Bobby, they had to get her out the rainwater, so they had stole a boat, and he put his whole family in that boat, and him and his family took that chance to walk all the way uptown to my house. So that's how all of them, get to my house. Then they called and said, the water coming your way, the water coming your way. Go to a school since y'all can't make it to. This is what they was telling us to go to the Superdome. They said go to the school. It was on the radio. Go to the school. So we broke in the Santa Fines. We stood in the school. Water still didn't come our way. So we went back to my house. So they was like, y'all go to Walmart and get some stuff out of Walmart. We'll get y'all some essentials. The fire department letting y'all go in there. At the time, the media was saying we was looting. They wasn't looting. The fire department actually broke up in there, and they let us go up in there, and we took whatever we had to take, and we went back to the house to try to survive for the next day. Then all of a sudden, the police came to the neighborhood saying, y'all get out of town, y'all have to get out, there's no water, New Orleans is not operating, is not functionable, try to get to the Superdome or try to get out of town if you have a car, right? So we was like, there's nothing for us to do. So my mom called my phone and she was like, if you can get to my house in Gretna, we'll come and get y'all. So me and my baby father, we walked from the St. Thomas all the way to the West Bank. There's a on Chapatulas, there's a ramp that you have to walk up to get on the GNO to go on the West Bank. That ramp took us about 3 hours to walk on just to get on top to try to go to Gretna. Once we get up there, we see so many people walking trying to get into Jefferson Parish. That's predominantly white. And their sheriff had it blocked off saying we cannot get over there. We was told to by the police to get to Jefferson Parish or get to the Superdome because we had a way out. I guess it was going to send charter buses to the West Bank or to this where they had evacuated a lot of people from the Superdome. So we just seen so many people. And one thing that I seen a girl I went to school with. She had a baby. Her baby was deceased. She said she had it during the storm, and she helped to let her baby go. She just was walking on it interstate with her baby. So when they didn't let us in JP, we just got down and we went and we sat under the bridge for maybe like 2 hours. And they had this group of guys came and said, we about to take some buses to go to, I didn't know the guys. We about to take some buses to get to Texas. They want everybody to go to Texas. They said on the radio, everybody go to Texas. So us and my baby father and his family, we went to the Fisher Project and we waited right there. And he said they had it was actually two buses. It was him and his friend who had a bus. So we got on the bus with him, and it was like pregnant people and older people and people with kids get on there first. So they let us get on, then they let everybody else get on. So when we got on, they had this, I don't remember the girl name. She was Ivory. She didn't want us on. Back then, New Orleans still have a beef when they have different parts of the city beef with each other. And she was like, if you're not from the Fisher, you gotta get off the bus. And I said, I'm not getting off the bus, nothing. So she took the gun and she pulled it out and she clocked it back. And my cousin and my baby father was like, oh, you ain't about to do nothing. I told her, if you want to shoot me, shoot me. We're not getting off on this bus. So the bus driver, he came back and said, man, we don't got time for that. It's a storm. We got to go.
Exactly. I cannot believe this.
He was like, we got to get out, because the city's not gonna be up and running. So after that, she calmed down, I sat down, and we was on the bus. And I just remember on the bus thinking about my kids, thinking about my family, just crying. So He actually didn't know how to get to Texas. So another person told him a back way to get to Texas. You know, before Hurricane Katrina, 80% of the people never ever been outside of New Orleans. They didn't know no additional route. They didn't know anything about going out of town. We everybody just uh did it whatever knowledge they had to get out of town. So we went and we stopped at a gas station in Mississippi, and they had these people say, "Oh, y'all from New Orleans? We so sorry to hear about it." And they paid for the gas. They asked everybody on the bus if they wanted any snacks or something.
So
And
some
yeah,
good Samaritans came and helped y'all.
yeah, just to give us something on our way. And then that's when they asked, "How do we get to Texas?" So they told them how we get to Texas. So once we made it to Texas, they had, I think, the National Guards there. When we pulled up, they pulled the guns out and said, "We are not welcome in the Astrodome."
Hmm.
And they had so other many people out there. They had some people from Texas saying, "We don't want New Orleans people here because y'all murder rate and we don't want y'all to infest our city like that." Yeah, it was like that. And they had the other group of people saying, "Where y'all from? We will help you." And everybody was just so angry at the fact that the National Guards didn't want to let us in the Astrodome and telling us we ain't welcome. And they had another group of people saying we was welcome. So we had mixed emotions. Everybody was crying. They had people who was trying to help us. So they had this one lady, I forgot her name. She told that all of us can come to her house, but I didn't want to go to the lady house
Mhm.
personally because I didn't know it. I me being young, I followed my baby father and his family, which I knew that wasn't the right choice for me to go because we couldn't get in the Astrodome. They did not want us in the Astrodome for nothing. I don't know why. We couldn't get there. We was the first people to make it. They had the guns in our face. We can't get there. So when the news people came, that's when everything has changed. But they still was saying, "Well, it's not open yet. We don't have employees here yet. Nobody can go in." But before the cameras came in, the cameras rolled, they were saying that we wasn't welcome and we wasn't supposed to be there. If we were supposed to be there, why y'all had the National Guards there?
Exactly. It was
Why
like they was treating y'all like criminals, even though y'all the victims. Like, come on
refugees?
now, like.
That's what they treated us like. And, um, so the lady, it was a lady and a man. They put us. We was in two different cars. We followed her to her home, and when we got to her home, it was a not livable house. The house was not livable
Wow.
at all. They had us in a house, and I was just so stressed out. I didn't even know what to do. I was pregnant, and I didn't want to lose my baby. I couldn't talk to my mom because, like I told you, even when we made it to Texas, the phone still wasn't working, and I was with Sprint at the time, and my phone wasn't working at all. So the lady, she was kind enough for us to use her phone to call other people. So I called all my family members, and I called my brother because a lot of people from my brother, they evacuated to Atlanta. And when I told them where I was, they was like, at that time, I think MySpace was
Mhm.
just starting about, and it was like, everybody, if you're from New Orleans, go to Texas. Everything is in Texas, so that's why everybody came to Texas. Because my brother, he's an entertainer, so when he said that he was leaving Atlanta and going to Texas, that's when everybody had started going to Texas, and when everybody started coming to Texas, that's when a lot of stuff starting to open up. And Montel Williams heard about our story, and he came there and he tried to help. And when he came there and he trying to help, that's when the people at the Astrodome started contacting us saying, "Oh, we can come back, we can come sleep on the cot." Like then that's when they wanted to help us. When we went there to try to get help, they were saying, "Oh, we ran out of money. There's no more money. FEMA didn't kick in. FEMA didn't kick in yet." So we was really like stuck. We had the house we was at. We was grateful to be in our house, but she didn't have money. I had money, and a few other people who was with us had money, but it was the money we had. We had to stretch that money to feed about. It was like 30 of us, and
Wow.
we had to use that money to just whatever. So about 2 or 3 weeks later, that's when FEMA kicked in. So I tried to get me a hotel. All the hotels in the world, I mean, I'm sorry, in Texas, Houston, that's where we was full to capacity. They didn't have anymore. So we tried it. Then that's when they were saying we can go get an apartment. All the discrimination when we went to get an apartment.
Wow.
We had to get our credit pulled. we had to pay a deposit, even though we had the FEMA. They just took us through. So I have so much animosity towards Texas to this day because they gave me a very, very hard time. And to this day, they still say they be saying that they don't like New Orleans people, that we made their city bad or however, whatever it want to be. So, but my story from Texas, going evacuating to Texas, was like my worst mistake. I'm grateful that we made it to safety, but they was not welcoming at all. They don't have hospitality like the people from New Orleans.
Interesting. So, okay. So, are you saying you would have had not got on the bus, knowing what you know now? You would have maybe stayed in New Orleans, or
I
like?
would I'd rather stay than go through what I went through when I evacuated for Hurricane Katrina. Cause and it wasn't just me. A lot, I hear a lot of some people say they was treated nice, and some people say have the same stories as I do, that they was not welcome at Texas. And another thing is, I tried to put my daughter into the school out there. They told me, even though school was only out for 2 weeks, they told me my child had to get held back. I said, what?
Mhm.
Bill Cole didn't help before I let y'all hold my child back. A lot of people kids was held back because they thought that New Orleans kids were dumb kids. They only went what the media said about what our kids. And that started a lot of fights at the schools. I don't know if you remember hearing that on the news that New Orleans and Texas was having these big old gang fights.
Mhm.
It's so much. Texas treated New Orleans people like dogs.
Wow. And was your brother's experience different being in Atlanta? Like, did he feel like more people embraced him
Well,
from?
I don't know because, like I said, as soon as I told him where I was, like 3 days later, he was in Houston. But when he came to Houston, he was like one of the few people who started opening up clubs for people in New Orleans. They had like Breakers One, Breakers Two, Breakers Three. Those are clubs that they had, and he was getting people to come. Like, come celebrate. Y'all been overwhelmed the last couple of days. Come celebrate. Come out in Texas. Come party. So he's like a party promoter or whatever. And he got people to come out, and that's how a lot of clubs started pop in Texas because of him.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Hmm.
I think this story is so interesting. Like, I had no idea that you kind of like, I don't want to say regret it, but you had rather stayed in New Orleans. But didn't y'all not have a choice? Like, or was it places in New Orleans you could have went to instead of going to Texas? Because it seemed like
No,
okay.
so some people went to Baton Rouge, some people
Okay.
went to Atlanta, some people went to Dallas, but you couldn't stay in New Orleans because just like Hurricane Ida happened
Mhm.
on Katrina anniversary, it was no lights, it was no food, no nothing, and we didn't have a mandatory evacuation, but we had a voluntary evacuation for Hurricane Ida. And majority of my family went to Houston. I stayed in New Orleans. I stayed out those lights. I did.
Mm-hmm. You was like, not again.
I I can go out there to visit, but I'm not going out there to stay.
Wow. So how long were you in Houston? Then when did you come back to
I
New
was in
Orleans?
them when they, because like I said, I stayed by the Garden District by the white people.
Mhm.
October, I will never forget. I think it was October 1st or October 4th. They say if your area code, if your zip code is 70130, you can come back to New Orleans. I was
Mhm.
the first car smoking to New Orleans.
Wow. So you didn't even stay in Houston that long.
Mm-mm. I left in October.
Wow.
Back and forth to get my stuff. And then, like I said, I was pregnant. My baby father, he was still out there, and I was kind of depressed. So when I was left, because I was in the city by myself, so I left and I went out there. Then I come back. He'll come back. Then he'll leave me again, and he'll go back to Houston. I was literally in New Orleans by myself for about good 2 months, just me, myself, and I.
Wow.
Because that's how bad I was treated in Texas, and I refused to let somebody walk over me.
Especially being as though what you guys just like experienced. You know what I mean? It was nothing that you guys did. It was like literally a natural disaster that was outside of your control. And that's how come like when I look at what happened with Hurricane Katrina and I look at what happened with 9/11, it's just kind of night and day. Like I feel like America, everybody got all together for 9/11, but I didn't see that same treatment of people like in
They
Hurricane Katrina.
they treated us like we was real criminals. Even
Yes.
even to when Hurricane Ida happened.
Mm-hmm.
They had people on TikTok saying kids from Houston and adults from Houston was saying, "Don't come to Texas. Well, from her if you're running from Hurricane Ida, especially if you're from New Orleans, you're not welcome. We full." Well, where's the hospitality? Because New Orleans people,
Exactly.
we welcome people in open arms with open arms.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's another reason why I didn't leave. My family was like, "Why you didn't leave?" I'd rather be hot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I evacuated to Houston.
So you had an experience. So I feel like nobody can take that from you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, so that's what you had to go by. So, question, also when I was watching the documentaries, do you think that hmm, how do I want to phrase this? Do you think the hurricane is what flooded New Orleans out, or do you think the levees breaking, or do you think that like a bomb set off the levees?
I think they blew the levees up. Me personally, because like I said, they didn't have water until maybe the following day after Katrina. After
Mm.
it was still sunny and everything.
Mhm.
I say like a day or so. That's when the water starts coming. Go back in the back with that feet. Go in the back. Turn that off. I think it happened after, like a day after. That's when it started flooding.
You know what? I feel like I noticed the same thing too. They basically, from what I was watching, they said y'all survived the storm. The
We did
storm was fine, like y'all survived it, but it was just like the flooding and how that just happened. And a lot of people said they heard a boom.
a
You know what I
boom.
mean? I feel like you can't mistake that. I feel like that's nothing nobody can make up. So I'm just based off of what I'm seeing, I'm leaning toward that because they said some people felt like they didn't want the French quarters to flood
Right.
out or
They
something.
didn't. They didn't want the French Quarter. The French Quarter wasn't gonna flood out. Like I said, there was no water after Hurricane Katrina. Now, what I heard was they was trying to already get the blacks out of New Orleans.
Mm,
But they say one because, like I said, a lot of people that's traveling now. Back then, when we was growing up, a lot of people didn't even see Baton Rouge, and Baton Rouge is an hour away. A lot of people
wow.
now out the state of Louisiana.
Mhm.
So after Hurricane Katrina, they was feeling like, oh, I'm not going back because this happened. I don't want to go through this again. And they thought that they was going to keep, I guess, 90% of the people out of New Orleans and let them move on to another state, and so they can gentrify New Orleans. And
Mhm.
that's what they're doing. They're gentrifying it slowly but surely. But I think that was a plan in the beginning because after Hurricane Katrina, they took a lot of people houses and land, especially the older people who really couldn't read or write or didn't have family members there. Once the older people left for Katrina, some of them didn't come back. Some of their properties was taken.
Mm. Yeah, they
And
probably have prime real estate too, like that good real estate.
they're really trying, like if you think about it, the ninth wall where the flooding really happened and Gentilly and the seventh wall is gentrified now.
Wow, really?
And uptown, when I told you that I stayed in the St. Thomas and I was in a garden district. In a lower garden district, there nothing but black homeowners was back there before Hurricane Katrina. Now you go back there, it's called the Irish Channel, and it's like the Irish people took over it, and you see nothing but Irish flags flying off their porches. And when you ride through the neighborhoods, and you was like, oh, the houses look nice, but you see a white man and a white woman with their white kids walk in this neighborhood that once, well, white people couldn't walk the neighborhood. They was afraid for their life. Now they just walking around in with grace. I ain't gonna tell you no more, Fitty. Go to bed.
That is wow. Ah, you're saying something. Yeah, I feel like that was probably the case from the beginning too. We're
That's
trying
what.
to gentrify it. Mm.
And for Ida, I don't think the power was out. They said the powers they had us without power for like a week and a half. Some people still don't have power. That's it's a mind thing. They're trying to get them outside and the state from New Orleans. They want them to give up their property. They want them to give up their houses just so they can build on it. And when people do decide to come back, it's gonna be too expensive for them.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy. So I'm still amazed that you were 5 months pregnant when all this stuff was going, when everything happened, and the fact that you say you were walking 3 hours
On
pregnant
yeah,
to get, you said up the
I'm
ramp. I'm saying,
around. Yeah, it's a
shouts out to you. And so you go to Houston, and then like 2 months later, you come back to New Orleans, still pregnant. It's like all this stuff going on. So that's why I'm just like, wow, you are very, very strong. Do you like think of yourself that way? Like just like everything that you had to endure?
yeah, and then I also think by me being pregnant, and every time the storm season come around, I get angry. I don't know why, but I just get angry. I guess that's PTSD
Mm,
of the storm, and I'm thinking, okay, well, if a storm do come, I'm gonna have to leave New Orleans and potentially not come back because my home probably be messed up. And like the type of person I am, I want to rebuild, but do I want to keep on rebuilding?
mm,
As that will stick with me because after the storm, I was lucky enough. Well, I was evicted out my house because they said we was looting. We
wow.
was already fighting with them, me and my sister, but they say we had computers and stuff in the house. Like I told you, when we went into Walmart, we didn't take that. We took meat, bread, or whatever. And I think they just put the computers in our house just to get us out of River Garden.
Mm,
And I was on a bus one day after Hurricane Katrina. Like we was really fighting. We fought them for like a year. And I was like, okay, Makiva, what's plan B? What you trying to do if you get evicted out this house? So I was just sitting on the bus and I see Habitat for Humanity. And that's what made me call Habitat. And I also call housing because I was on a housing program as well. And I said, whoever called me first, this is how I was thinking, whoever called me first, this is who I'm gonna buy my house with because Hurricane Katrina, it really messed up so many people's livelihoods. Like you just don't know. A lot of people have PTSD. That's why a lot of people didn't come back
mhm,
to New Orleans. And every storm season, you'll always hear people say, "Oh, I pray for y'all. Y'all need to leave that city alone because it's full of voodoo and hurricanes gonna always hit y'all." This like no, it's like moving out of the city is for some people and some people it's not for. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna move because of no storm or nothing like that. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? If I'm gonna move for something greater. I'm gonna move for better opportunities. People was like, oh, and then this call they be saying, oh girl, you might as well move to Texas. You got the degrees and the certificates to go. Why y'all always want people to go to Texas?
mhm.
Texas is not the greatest state in America.
Yes, and I can imagine you like people having PTSD because me watching it was traumatizing. So I couldn't imagine living it. Like someone showed it's real random, but someone showed how it looks of like Jazzland, that Six Flags there, how it looked after the hurricane. It creeped me out because everything was destroyed, everything was like knocked over, and it's just like it was mentally it messed me up because you think of Six Flags as fun things, like everybody's happy, but like that storm just destroyed it, or I should say the water just
Yeah,
destroyed it, and it just kind of like, so I couldn't okay, if I feel that way about an amusement park, imagine how people feel like when their homes was like totally destroyed.
so they had people trapped in their houses, couldn't get it. They had people walk the flood waters who drowned. They had
Mm,
people to lose more than they had people to lose everything. And it's like, F it, I'm about to leave. I'm not coming back. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And
yeah.
I get that part, but if you leave and don't come back, you cannot put your subconscious on somebody else to leave and come. You know what I'm
Like,
saying?
that's
Don't
your
don't
choice.
throw don't throw that on me. And a lot of people get mad because I speak on this all the time. If you're gonna leave a city or a state, leave it for the better yourself. Don't try to compare it to another state because what's going on in this city and state, and the reason why you leave, you can go to the next city and state, you can get robbed, you can get shot, and you can be
Same thing
like,
happen. Hmm.
that's what I'm saying. So
Hmm.
if you're gonna leave, you're gonna leave. And Katrina just messed a lot of people up, and I don't think the government took the time to even ask people did we need therapy or anything
Mm.
after it. because they thought they just gonna give us some money and shut us up. Me, I didn't get the money. I only got $3,000 and that was it.
Wow. To
Um,
rebuild your whole entire life.
yeah,
Not
and
enough.
that was all I get. I understand that people took advantage of that, but when it wasn't too much money they took advantage of.
Mm.
Our livelihoods was messed up. Katrina,
Completely.
Katrina messed up us so bad mentally, physically, and emotionally. The government said, "Oh, here go a couple of thousands. Y'all rebuild with that." What about our inner self? What about
Exactly.
our trauma we endured? What about all that? They
Yes.
about that. They didn't think about that long term.
No. And you're telling the truth. And I didn't even think about that until you just brought it up. Because you would have, like you said, like from what we seen on the computer on TV and stuff, like you seen bodies like on just floating on the water. Like you said, I heard some people couldn't get out their attics. Oh, like it was just it's yeah, it's terrible. And it was on maybe when you think about it, it's like you said, maybe they was trying to break people. You know what I mean? To get out of here, just go. You know what I mean?
Probably
And I think about how to build them up. But I was going to ask you. So basically, you were able to return home because, like, I'm assuming, like, where you lived at wasn't that bad. Like, you still had your house and
not
clothes
that
and possession and stuff.
not not the only thing was that the food that we had, and from the food that we had, they had maggots in the house, so we had to throw away a lot of that stuff.
Hmm.
But other than that, nothing wasn't wrong.
Oh wow.
Nothing.
Okay.
But like I said, we couldn't eat when we came back. There wasn't no hot food. There wasn't no stores open, so we still had to eat.
It was like gotcha. So it was like
So
kind of deserted in a way.
it was
Okay. And I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, based off of I'm not like that familiar with New Orleans, but based off of where you lived, could I say that that was more inland?
what you mean.
Like, okay, I heard like this one guy he said he looked at something. He wasn't home either. He was somewhere, and he said he noticed a store, and he was just like, the water is all the way up to the top of this store, and he said what struck him about that store is that it was more inland, like it was more
Okay,
away from the.
okay. So we have uptown and downtown, if that's
Mhm.
what you mean.
Okay.
So the water was downtown, and let me tell you something about New Orleans. New Orleans and their street names are backwards. Downtown have north, uptown have south. That's
Okay.
back.
Okay.
But downtown is where most majority of the things happen. Some uptown areas was flooded, but for the most part, uptown really wasn't flooded. But it was downtown. It was like further back in the city that was on the water, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yes. So, and where you lived was
No water at all.
okay, uptown.
I was uptown. Yeah.
Uptown. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Wow. So I would want to come back home too then. Like, especially if none of your stuff was ruined, I would want to come back and just thug it out at home. And it sounds like from then to now, everything was good except for Ida. Was that kind of the only other major storm that you guys had to endure?
No, right after Katrina, I was still in Texas. I think Rita came, Hurricane Rita, and
Mm,
we had to run from Rita because they were saying it's supposed to hit Texas. So we ran from Rita, then we came back. Then we had Gustav. It wasn't as major. The only other major storm we had was Ida.
okay.
Ida messed us up. Well, it didn't really mess us up. It just knocked our power out for like 2 weeks. And some people's power still out. We didn't have gas. We had to ride to Mississippi to get gas. We still don't have hot food. Some people don't have hot food because some of the stores are selling bad meat. Walmart and Winn Dixie included. So um you probably can get a hot meal every so often, but I think more and more meat trucks are starting to come in. So everything should be back to my kids go to school tomorrow. So
Okay.
yeah,
Speaking of kids, so am I right to estimate that your son that you were pregnant with, he's basically like 15,
he,
16 years old now?
he's 15. He's about to be 16 January 4th.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And like, do you tell him like when I was pregnant with you, like this was going on?
I do, but Also at the time, we really don't talk about it because their father was murdered. Who I was with, he was murdered in 2009, and it was real close. So I
Mm.
tend not to try because I don't want them to think about it. But they know
Mm-hmm.
about their father though.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Yeah. I'm just like very, very amazed. So, question: were you like, all right, when they was talking about getting on that bus, were you like, okay, I'm gonna do it? Like, were you scared? Were you like,
I,
does he know how
I
to drive this bus? Like, what were your thoughts?
no, I was not scared, and he told us. He said he never drove the bus, but we didn't care. We were
Mm.
just trying to, because, like I told you, the media was making it how it was. Like I told you, I still had a radio and I still had my landline phone, which still was working. And then that's when the police came on the mic saying, "Get out, y'all get out your houses." They was knocking on people's doors,
Mhm.
kicking their doors. You can hear me?
Okay, now I can.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. They was knocking on the doors to make sure people get out.
So y'all was just like, I'm leaving. Because when I was reading the article about him, they said he was trying to get his mom to get on the bus, but his mom was like, "No, I'm not getting on there. He don't know how to drive." And I was like, "Dang, his own mom didn't want to get on there." I would like, if I'm trying to leave safety, I'm just like, whatever. Let's just go. We'll figure it out together. So, is it true when you guys were on the bus that you guys were everybody was like cramped up together? Everybody was just, they said some people were standing up in the aisles. It just wasn't that much space. Like, oh, wait, I can hear. So, my question was like, what was it like being on there? I'm pretty sure it was like hot, crowded, like,
It was
take me.
crowded. It was crowded. It was hot. But the seat I was in, it was me, my baby's father, and his grandmother in one seat. So it was just three of us. No, matter of fact, it was just me and him in that seat. So I was comfortable, I guess, because I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
They had other people who had sitting 3 to 4. It was real crowded. They had people standing in the front, and they also had people standing in the back. But I think they was rotating something. Then they'll start sitting in the aisles. But it was crowded. He had about 50 people on the bus, maybe more.
And I want to say, okay, they said from a regular trip, New Orleans to maybe Texas, is like 3 to 5 hours or something.
We took more than that.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it was like it took like 13 or something.
Yeah, but
I'm
like I
not
told, because he
mistaken.
didn't he didn't know how to get there, and like I said, nobody didn't know how to get there. So when we got to the gas station, when we finally found gas, that's when they was telling us, okay, so we have to take such and such to get to Houston.
Hmm. And I'm even more impressed because this was before we even started using GPS. I half don't know how to get from here to there without using my iPhone. So like
Right.
I'm even more like, wow, like
Probably.
my mind is like, he really did that because I mean, I need this to tell me which way to turn, to stop at this. Like I really for every little
Yes.
thing.
For every little thing, even in your own city.
Right, yes. So I'm like, I'm quite impressed. So, okay, I'm glad that you felt like I'm just gonna get on this bus anyway and press on through.
Or I
Um,
was I was not scared or anything like that.
wow, I'm very very impressed. Um, and I'm assuming since it was just you and your baby's father, you just slept that way, like slept on each
Yeah.
other kind of thing. And when y'all went to the gas station, is that how y'all ate? Like, how did y'all eat and stuff?
Right, yeah. I think we stopped maybe once or twice. I just remember now this part I don't remember. I think we stopped once, and when we stopped, I know all the people who was with me because I had money. I bought them drinks and snacks, and we had kids with us as well. I bought them drinks, snacks, and everything. And like I said, people at the gas station also bought stuff for people that was on
Mm-hmm.
the bus. So We made it just eating junk food. Oh, and you know what? At this particular gas station, I think they sold like the gas station hot dogs, and we had that. And it held us. I guess people wasn't, like when you nervous or something going on, you're not hungry.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
think that's what it was too. So another thing, the radio. When we made it to Texas, the radio was saying like once we make the refugees, that's what they was calling us. Once we make it to Texas, we got a hot meal. We have a place to lay our heads, and we was looking forward to that. But
Mm-hmm.
when we got there, no.
That's when, yeah, they was treating y'all like crap. Uh,
Hmm.
I was about to ask you something. Oh, what is your advice for people to prepare for a storm or prepare if a disaster is to happen? Like you, the fact that you have money on you, I don't know if that's something that you always do, but I feel like that was really smart. You know what I mean? That
Right.
you thought to
So
have money, and you know what I mean? Like,
my mom and my sister always stress for hurricane season. You're supposed to always have like a rainy day fund or whatever. But I was young. I didn't have a rainy day schedule money. It was just that I had got paid. And
oh wow.
yeah, I got paid, and on top of that, our bank was letting us overdraft. So I had money. So that's how I was able to take care of the other people that were with us because I was overdrafting, which I paid it back. But we was allowed to overdraft $300 a day for 3 or 4 days. That was ASI. I don't know if it was a glitch or whatever, but we had to pay the money back. But
Mhm.
um I was able to overdraft because that was the only way that we had to survive. I had money for myself, and I had got paid. Then my job also gave us extra money. Stop a storm. Most jobs have a storm fund. So if a hurricane or something come, and you out of work for a certain amount of days, they'll give you some money. And I think my job gave me like $150 or something like that. I don't remember. Plus my pay. And like I told you, my Tail Williams, he gave us some money once we made it there. But to prepare for a storm, you have to have a rainy day fund. And when they say a storm coming, if you're going to ride it out, make sure you have a lot of non-perishable items, waters. People in the waters like to buy snacks. We use like chips, cakes for the kids, and stuff like that. We like to buy stuff, stuff, snacks, the little Debbie cakes,
Mhm.
the hot chips, the kids like Takis now. So we make sure we don't. I don't get cold drinks because I can't say cold drinks. What y'all say? Pop, soda.
Oh, okay. That's what's okay.
Well, so I don't get cold drinks for the storm because we had cold drinks when for Katrina and my side and everything was hurting, so I know not to get cold drinks. So I buy bottled water for the storm. Like for Hurricane Ida, I wrote it out. I had bought two 24 cases of water. I actually have a TikTok of that, and I have a lot of snacks, and I have a little bit of Hennessy in the thing. I made a TikTok, and I said while everybody going to evacuate, I'm at home with my snacks. So
Mhm.
that's how, and I had money as well, just in case I had to leave, like for Katrina.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, and when so eventually we had to leave out the city. So we went to Mississippi 2 days after Ida because it was hot. I couldn't take it no more. I was in the city for 2 days. Then I went to Mississippi. Then when my sister lights came on, I went to Slidell. Slidell is like 30 minutes from New Orleans. And
Okay.
I stayed by her house until my lights came back. No, then my job put me in a hotel. So whenever you're preparing for a storm, you have to save money. If you're gonna stay, make sure you have water, snacks, non-perishable items, and the new thing they have now is a generator if you're gonna ride it out. Because and make sure that you get gas for the generator because you don't know if the light's gonna be off for 3 or 4 days. So you have to have all that to prepare. Now if you're gonna leave, make sure every month you set aside maybe $30, $40 for maybe like every 2 weeks or every week for about 6, 7 months about time hurricane season come, or maybe more, depends on how much your budget is. When it's hurricane season, if you got to leave, you'll have enough money to get a rental or your car, you gas it up to go out of town and go to a hotel. So
Wow.
That's what you have. But people be tired of running. People tired of running. Every year they tell you one a major storm coming and it's not coming. And that's what happened with Katrina. They
Yeah.
told us to run for I forgot the storm name. We ran. No storm didn't come. People we be spending our money, our last money to run.
Yeah.
And they was like, we ain't going nowhere.
Yep. And that's what a lot of people were like, especially they were saying the older residents was like, we wrote out Betsy. So, Katrina, we could do this one too. And literally, y'all did. From what I'm able to gather, it wasn't a storm, it was them levees breaking and
Yeah,
flooding the
bro.
city. Yeah. Yeah. That's basically what it was. Y'all did survive the storm.
Yeah.
Um, I'm glad you told us that because I feel like that advice also can help with people preparing in a pandemic as well. Because guess what? A lot of people wasn't prepared for that shutdown that happened. Everybody was out at the stores, you know what I mean? But if like you said, you prepare, you have your stash of money, you have your water, your non-perishable items, you don't have to rush to the store when everything shuts down, or you know what I mean? Like if for the pandemic kind of. So I'm like, how you prepare for a storm, I feel like it's the same thing of how you prepare for a pandemic to happen too. And then everybody, a storm, anything can happen anywhere. Mother Nature don't like discriminate, So I feel like that's also good information to have as well. So I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now
so go
that's
ahead.
that's one thing New Orleans people have to put in their budget now. A generator. Just buy a generator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about does a generator help with like flushing the toilet and all that other stuff, or that's something separate?
That's where the water coming from. So not bottled water. You have to buy. What we do, a lot of people fill their tubs up with water to
Oh,
or they wash machines up with water. So if the toilets goes off, you use that water to flush your toilets.
that's why. Okay, in the documentary, they said that like for the people that went to the hotel, they said people was telling them like fill up the bathtub with water. I didn't know why. I didn't know
Yeah,
why they was telling them that, but
yeah,
I didn't know that's what the reason was.
yeah,
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. Yep. I mean, these are necessary things to know. Like for even like I said, even if you find
yeah.
yourself caught up in the storms and you just don't know, it's best to have like 2 weeks because, like you said, you guys were out of power for 2 weeks, so at least have 2 weeks worth of supplies to get you through.
Yeah, and but a lot of people's only like when they left for Ida, they only anticipated to be gone for maybe 3 4 days.
Mm,
4 days turned into like a week or two, and guess what? FEMA still did a slow response.
mm,
People ran out of money. Some people had expensive hotels because they had money for those expensive hotels, but they ran out of money.
mm.
FEMA only gave them five. Some people 500, denied the other people, and they gave some people 1,000. But they was like use your FEMA number, but the hotels that they chose looked like the hotels for hookers, like a roach motel.
Yeah, who's staying there? Like, come on now.
Right. So
Mhm.
that's why a lot of people was aggravated as well. Even to the fuel prices. The fuel is $3.99 now.
Mm, I believe it.
In New Orleans. That's the gas shouldn't be that much.
I feel like it may be like that every. Let me see
It's
how much.
but it's on in some gas stations it's going down.
Okay.
It's starting to go back down to the 280, I think, or to the 270.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Ours is 299. Premium is 360 something. But
Well,
something. Go ahead.
what state you in?
I'm in Delaware.
Okay.
So up like Philadelphia, DC, like I'm right up in there.
I just left out of Philly in November.
Really? Yeah.
Hmm.
That it's like we're neighbors. If I have to fly somewhere, I go to the Philadelphia airport because that's the close.
What,
Delaware is such a small state. We don't have our own airport, so.
what's the name of the airport?
Oh, the Philadelphia, I think is what is it? The Philadelphia International Airport.
Oh, okay. I don't think we go into that again.
Okay. Airport. Yeah, Philadelphia International Airport. That's the closest one to me, which is like 45 minutes
Yeah.
out of the state. Yeah. But yes, girl. Okay. So, I mean, you kind of share throughout throughout our discussion, but How is life for you now? It sounds like life is good for you. You're back in New Orleans, you know what I mean? And it just sounds like you're living life good. So, but I just wanted to wrap it up with that. How's life for you now?
Life is going great. I have 4 kids now. At the time, I was, I had 2 kids pregnant with one. I have
Mhm.
4 now, no more. I have a grandbaby. My oldest daughter have a baby. Um,
Oh, you
I
look young though. You look like
I, where you? Oh, I bought a house through Habitat. I have about maybe like 6, 7 more years to pay on it.
wow,
It was a
that's good.
20-year mortgage, no
Mhm.
interest. Um, I have my job. I work healthcare for the homeless. Um, yeah, so far so good. But I'm still trying to get a second job. I don't know. I just have to be busy. I just cannot do anything.
Me too, girl. I got a second job. I feel the same way. And I like money, like
Yes.
certain way I want to live. Um, so overall, this actually is my final question. What has this whole that experience in particular, what has it taught you about yourself, people? I already know how you feel about Texas people, but maybe people in general. And how do you feel about life? Like how because to me, I don't know if you feel this way, but as an outsider looking in, to me, I feel like you're a part of history. You know what I mean? Because nothing like that has ever happened in America history, and since then nothing else can kind of compare. So, I feel like very like happy and honored to actually talk to you because you are a survivor. Like you went through something that was just so like
Well,
you really can't even fully comprehend it unless you walked in it. So that's why I'm like very, very amazed.
right. So it taught me to it taught me more life skills that I didn't know and you don't learn in school. One.
Mm-hmm.
It
Like
also
what? Can you give
it
an
also
example?
taught me to always have a plan B, C, D, E, and F.
Mm.
It taught me that you can't depend on the government for help. It also taught me to be impatient because I used to be very patient. Now I'm very impatient. I get mad easily, and I don't trust people outside of New Orleans. That reason because of what happened in Texas. Now, one good thing that I get out of this, we lost our homes because of Hurricane Katrina and the looting, but on the flip side, by them kicking me out, it made me want to buy my own home.
Mm.
So that's the good thing that I got out of it, and it also opened. It was an eye opener for me for like I told you, like other storms and what to do and what to expect, and not to depend on the government or people in the neighboring states because they don't show the same hospitality and love that you'll show them if that would happen to
Mm.
them. So it taught me a lot, and it made me hate people more. It did.
Oh, and I can understand that because you would think that we should all be rallying together amongst you guys. Like I
Right.
said, y'all didn't make this happen. Y'all didn't ask for this to happen. You guys
And
were
yet,
the victim. Go ahead.
they still blame us like we
Mm,
was the ones that made this happen.
right, like come on now. I'm like very shocked. I now that's something they did not gonna put in the news because
It,
I didn't hear that part. You know what I mean? Like they never said nothing
I
about like
I
go
can
ahead.
I can give bet you your last dollar. You put a poll up there and ask people how they was treated the aftermath of Katrina. You'll hear a lot of similar stories like mine. Now they have some people who have good stories who met good people, but
It wasn't the majority of
it
y'all.
wasn't pleasant.
Okay.
Separating those kids from their babies at the Superdome.
Mm,
That that right there, I thought of slave ships when they used to take the
mm,
mothers from the babies. Like what y'all doing? Modern
right.
slavery.
Now, was this in Texas or the Superdome that was in New Orleans?
When they got the charter buses, they was separating families. They literally was putting if you had 5 kids and they only have room for you and 2 of your kids, they're gonna put you kids and
Mm,
they gonna put the other 3 on another bus. And that bus probably was going to Oklahoma and you going to Atlanta.
that is terrible. Because
They was doing that.
cell phones weren't as big then, so it's almost like how could you even know for sure where your
They
child is?
some people had to call the Red Cross hotline. That line wasn't working. Like they had people who were still looking for us, and they was calling that line looking for their family members to make sure that they got it out. And guess what? That they separated. They probably still have people separated from their families now.
Kivia, I wasn't expecting that. Don't make me cry because I literally could not imagine. You know what I mean? Especially being kids that young and no, that's come on, man. That's not right. Wow, it's almost like that's what was making me mad too. A little bit while I was watching stuff, what was going on. Forget the rules. Like it was so many rules in place. Like okay, we can't do this. Forget the rules. These people need help. They need water. They need supplies. Like forget the way y'all was taught in the arm. Forget all that. You got to do it a different way now because like the situation is happening. You know what I mean? It's not time for the governor is blaming the mayor's blaming forget all that. Like let's get the people the help. You know, that's what was really
Yeah,
frustrating me. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, are y'all doing this on purpose? Like I kind of get how y'all frustration because it shouldn't take all this much. You know what I mean?
yeah, it made me very, very angry. I wasn't this angry person before all that happened. So,
Wow. Yeah, well, at least you're woke. And like, sometimes it takes situations like this to realize like, oh, life isn't all rainbow or what you think about people isn't always rainbows and butterflies.
uh,
Not to say you always thought that way, but this situation I can understand definitely will like change your outlook. But thank you so much for talking to me. Was there anything else you want to add? If not,
no.
okay. If not, you can let us know how we can find you on social media if people want to contact you or anything like that.
Okay, so my TikTok is at MSKIVA, Miss Kiva.
Mhm.
My social media, I'm sorry, my Facebook is my name, Makivia Horton. And my Instagram is is six M's and my last name Horton. So it's Horton.
Okay, that's cute.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Makiva, for coming and talking to me, talking to us, sharing your experience. It was amazing. Like you gave the real truth. Like I might title this "The Aftermath of Hurricane Katrina," the untold story, because you put a spin on things that I wasn't expecting, but it was a good spin. You really added to the conversation. So thank you again for joining me. And if you ever want to come back, if you're working on something you want to promote, girl, you can come
Oh,
and we will talk about it. But thank you again so much for your time.
you're welcome.